This is the Module 6 test review on page 167 and 168. And this video is a check answers video, so I want you to go ahead and pause the video now and resume it when you are ready to check your answers. So numbers 1 through 4 says use the table to find each ratio. And number 1 says White Sox to Brown Sox. So I'm going to go find the White Sox. There are 8 and the Brown Sox are 5, and that doesn't simplify, so I'm simply going to write it as 8 to 5. And one way you can write a ratio is using a colon. And number 2, it says Blue Sox to non-Blue Sox. Well, the Blue Sox there are 4 Blue Sox. And the non-Blue Sox, well, I got to count those up. But when I do this, I don't include the Blue Sox. Non-blue means everything else. So 8 plus 6 is 14, plus 5 is 19. So it's 4 to 19. That doesn't simplify, so I just write it as 4 to 19. Question 3 says Black Sox to All Sox. Well, the Black Sox are 6. And the All Sox are 8 plus 6. This time we have to include the black. That's 14. And 4 and 5 is 9. And 9 and 14 is 23. And that doesn't simplify, so I'll just write it as 6 to 23. And question 4 says find 2 rates equivalent to the ratio in exercise 1. So I go up to number 1 here, and I have to find equivalent ratios to 8 to 5. And if I wrote this as a fraction, this would be really easy to double those numbers. I would get 16 to 10. And I could triple, not 16 and 10, but triple the original number. 8 and 5, 8 times 3 is 24, and 5 times 3 is 15. So those both work. And I could write those as fractions. I could actually write those, though, as, I could write them using a colon if I wanted to. I could write them as 16 to 10. I could write them as 24, I could use the colon or I could use the word 2, 24 to 15. All of those answers work. Or like I said, I could have left them as a fraction. But those 4 answers all look really good. Go ahead and try the next set. When you're done, you can check your answers. Okay, so we're on 6.2. It says find each rate, and they give you some information here. So what I'm going to do is highlight it. It says Earl runs 75 meters in 30 seconds. How many meters does Earl run per second? So I'm going to go ahead and grab a whiteboard here. And a speed rate would definitely be run with the distance on top, so 75 meters over 30 seconds. And it says how much does Earl run per second? That's per 1 second. So what that means is I don't want to know how many meters he runs in 30. I want to know how many meters he runs in 1. And the reason I point that out to you is because it kind of tells you the operation. How would I get from 30 seconds down to 1 second? Oh, I divide by 30. 30 divided by 30 is 1. So what that tells me is what I need to do to the top term is also divide by 30. And I can't just do that mentally, so I'm going to go off to the side here and I'm going to divide 75 by 30. And I can tell it's not going to go in evenly, but that's okay. I still know how to do this. 30 goes into 60 twice. 2 times 30 is, I said that wrong. I should have said 30 goes into 75 twice. 2 times 30 is 60. And you get a remainder here. And the remainder is less than the divisor, which is a good sign. And this is simple. If you forgot what to do, this is simple. 75 is the same as 75.0. So I simply annex a decimal and a 0, and the decimal goes straight up, and the 0 goes straight down. And since 3 goes into 15 5 times, that means 30 goes into 155 times. 5 times 30 is 150, so I'm done dividing. It's 2.5, but it's not 2.5 only. It's 2.5, and go back and read the question. Meters per second. So I can use just a symbol or abbreviation. I can write it as meters per second. That would be perfect, just like that. Alrighty, well, you should have already tried number 6. If you haven't tried number 6 yet, you need to try that first. And after getting an answer for 6, you can then check your answer. I'm going to go through 6 now. 6 says the cost of 3 scarves is $26.25. What is the unit price? Now, if you forgot what the unit price means, it would be a good idea to go back and study what that means. But unit price or unit cost means price for 1 unit. I don't want to know the price for 3 units, I want to know the price for 1 unit. Well, how can I figure that out? On number 6, I know that it's $26.25 for 3 scarves. And just like what I just did above, I don't want to know the price for 3 scarves, I want to know the price for 1 scarf. Well, how would you get from 3 scarves to 1 scarf? Well, you divide by 3. And so you need to divide the first term by 3. 26.25 divided by 3. And that's another one that I don't know the answer mentally, but I can line it up and figure it out. Dividing by 3 shouldn't be too hard. 3 goes into 27, almost 9 times, but 8. 8 times 3 is 24. And I get a remainder of 2, and I bring down my 2, and I can bring my decimal up right now. It's going to be $8 and something cents. 3 goes into 22 7 times, because 7 times 3 is 21. And 3 goes into 15 times. 5 times 3 is 15. And I'm going to get a remainder of 0 there, so the answer is $8.75. And if I wanted to write a super complete answer here, so it says unit price, so that means I need a dollar sign. $8.75 is probably enough information, but I really like to say for what? What is it $8.75 for? It's $8.75 for a scarf. So I'm going to write per scarf. That's a little bit more complete answer there. Okay, go ahead and try numbers 6 and 7 and play the video when you're ready to check those answers. Number 6 reads, Danny charges $35 for 3 hours of swimming lessons. Martin charges $24 for 2 hours of swim lessons. Who offers the better deal? So it's really hard to compare them. Danny charges more, but that's for more hours. Martin charges less, but that's for less hours. So how can we compare this? Well, sometimes it makes sense just to set up what they're doing here. Danny is $35 for 3 hours. And Martin is $24 for 2 hours. And there are all sorts of ways to do this. We know they're not equal because it says they're not equal. I mean, I guess it could be a trick question, but it says who offers the better deal. This is not a question where we're trying to figure out whether or not these terms are equal. We don't think they are. There are all sorts of ways to try and solve this. I think I'm going to show you 2 methods and let you choose which one you like better. One method is just to simply say, well, since the hours are not equal, why don't we make them equal? And watch how easy I can do this. If I multiply Martin's hours by 3, I would get 6 hours. But if you multiply his hours by 3, you have to multiply his wage by 3. And 24 times 3, I can look on a multiplication chart, that's $72. So Martin would charge $72 for 6 hours of lessons. Now how can I make Danny's equivalent to Martin's? Well, if you look, he's at 3 hours right now. If you simply double that, and I don't have a lot of room here, so I'm going to have to squeeze it in. If you simply double that, you would get 6 hours. And if you double his hours, you have to double his wage, and 35 times 2 is 70. Martin would be at $70 for 6 hours. So now we're comparing these. And it says who offers the better deal. Well, if they each worked for 6 hours and Danny charged 70, that's a little bit cheaper. So I'm going to say Danny. Now that's not the only way to solve this. I think what I'll do here is show you an alternative way. I'm going to go back to how I had it set up. And I'm probably just going to start over actually. Go back to how I set up. The way I'm going to show you now might be what you thought you needed to do, and there's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't divide evenly, which is the only reason I didn't probably choose this method. Martin's is going to be really easy, though. If you thought to yourself, at the beginning of this, if you thought, well, the only way to solve this is to simplify down to 1 hour, that makes a lot of sense for Martin. Check this out. If you said to yourself, well, I need to figure out how much Martin charges per 1 hour, if you divide these by 2, you get 1 hour. And if you divide his wage by 2, you get $12. How much does Martin charge? $12 per hour. Now, it's not quite as easy with Danny. To get Danny down to 1 hour, you'd have to divide by 3. 3 hours divided by 3 is 1 hour. And 35 divided by 3 is not a whole number. Check this out. I'm going to do it down here. 3 goes into 35. 3 goes into 3 once. And I'm out of room. I almost want to just start over and think of it this way. 3 goes into 35 11 times because 11 times 3 is 33, and there's a remainder. So I could annex a decimal here, and I could bring my decimal up and my 0 down, and now I ask myself, how many times does 3 go into 20? It goes in 6 times. So I get 11.6. What's the 11 though? 11's the dollars. And notice that it doesn't really matter what my cents are here, because $11 and something cents, it doesn't matter what the cents are. Like, I don't need to finish this right here because I know that it's 11.60 something, and that's less than 12. And again, so Danny, it's going to be $11, and I think it's going to be 66. It would round, it'd be 67 cents. If you punch that into a calculator, in fact, I'll do that just to show you. $35 divided by 3 hours is $11, and that would round to 67 cents. 11.67 is a little cheaper than 12, so it supports my earlier answer. I think probably the first method I showed you is a little easier. All right, a couple more problems. We are on number 12. I'm sorry, we are on number 8. Number 8 reads, there are 32 performers in a dance recital. The ratio of men to women is 3 to 8. How many men are in the dance recital? So we're checking out the ratio of men to women. So I could write that as a fraction like this. And I know that the ratio is 3 to 8. And which one's which? Well, the first number is men, so it's 3 to 8. And I know that there are 32 women, so 32 would go here. And I know that these are going to be equivalent, and now you can see an easy math problem. If you didn't know what to do before, now you should be able to see an easy math problem. If you're not sure how to set that up, all I can tell you is just read carefully. It said, I'll start kind of at the beginning. The word said men to women, and it said the ratio was 3 to 8, and then it said there were 32 females. So that's how I got all those numbers. And then I hope right here you can see that to get from 8 to 32, you'd multiply by 4. So to get from 3 to an unknown number, you have to multiply also by 4. And so it'd be 12, and this can be 12, and up here it's going to be the men, so 12 men. So let's go check out number 12. I'm sorry, it's number 9. I keep calling things number 12 for some reason. It's crazy. Let's go check out number 9. And it says, how can you use ratios and rates to solve problems? And really, I think what we can do here is we could write that answers vary. And I think what we can do is just kind of write a lot of the things that we've done, just some of the main terms we've done. We could find the unit rate. We could find equivalent ratios. And another one that I've seen a lot of students using lately is cross multiplication. We could use cross multiplication. Those are some really good strategies. I know that doesn't totally answer the question, but I think this is a good enough way to describe what we've learned in this unit.